if you're anything like me, you don't just want to learn a language, you want to learn it quickly, you want to impress people, you want to be better than average, and that might seem like kind of arrogance, ego to a lot of people, but I think it's a good thing. I think it truly is good to have that kind of drive within yourself to be a better person overall and to do impressive things, to be above average. And one really, really good way that you can actually boost your language learning progress and impress yourself really and impress anyone who doubted you or who thought that you wouldn't be able to do it is to learn the language quickly and to learn, specifically to acquire words quite quickly. And this video isn't a clickbait, rubbish, horseshit video on how to cheat language learning and that kind of thing. This is a legitimate guide with scientific principles that I use to learn words quickly. And if you're interested in that kind of thing, I'd highly recommend you stick around until the end, because I'm also going to drop a bonus that will probably help you a lot. So let's talk about the problem first of all of what is actually stopping us from not knowing words and how we can address that and fix the problem. So the problem, which is actually a symptom, not the actual problem, is you not knowing enough words. You're not particularly good at the language you're learning right now simply because that's not to be rude, I'm just being honest. You simply don't know enough words in the language. There's hundreds of thousands of words likely in the language you are trying to learn. You're going to need tens of thousands to be able to speak it to people. Obviously, you don't use most words every single day. And you would need thousands to be able to speak it brokenly, and you probably only know hundreds, maybe less, maybe more. But the point is that we do need to acquire more words. And then, of course, when you don't know enough words, you can't understand stuff, you can't speak, it's frustrating. It's just not good. So here is you on the left. Here is you attempting to communicate an idea, and there is a problem. The problem is that you don't have the required words. So when I say communicate an idea, I basically mean you have something you want to say. You want to talk about this, you're attempting to do it, and you're blocked because the required words is at a higher level than the words you know. So I want you to imagine the idea you're trying to talk about. Maybe it's something simple. You're trying to order a pizza, for example. I don't know, it could be anything. The required knowledge and the required words to do that are at a higher standard, a higher bar than the current amount of words you know. And that is why you fail, because there's an asymmetry between those levels that's blocking you. And of course, we can be more specific and address this actual problem, because this is more of the symptom. The fact that you're frustrated because you're blocked from communicating isn't actually the problem. That's happening because of something else. And that something else is the real problem, which is these things that I've written branching off you not having the required words to convey the idea. So it could be a few different things. It could be you haven't talked about it enough. It could be you have a low pain tolerance to learning. When I say it could be, all of these things are influencing it. So perhaps you haven't talked about, ordering the pizza or whatever the concept isn't enough. So it's difficult to speak quickly and comprehensively. Perhaps you have a low pain tolerance when it comes to learning, and I'll address pain later. But pain basically when it comes to grinding and learning new words, maybe you get really frustrated and anxious and you want to give up. You might have poor innovation ability to kind of work around problems and speak in ways different to exactly what you're attempting, simply when you fail. Maybe you're not skilled at learning words. Maybe you don't understand subject-specific vocab, even if you are good at the language. And pay attention to the numbers, because the numbers I've written next to these things are very, very important, as I'll say on the next slide. You don't need to remember them, but they will be important. But the takeaway from this picture is that it's actually quite a simple problem. The reason you're frustrated is because you can't communicate an idea. The reason you can't communicate an idea is because you're blocked effectively by not knowing the words required to communicate the idea. And the reason you don't have the words required to communicate the idea is because of these reasons here. You're not skilled enough. You don't have the vocab specific to the subject, etc. So let's address the actual solution of how we can improve our ability so that we can convey information so that we're not frustrated anymore. So obviously, the solution that we want, the overall solution, is to increase the number of words that we know. And we know that's the solution because that is the main problem. We don't have the required words to convey information about that topic, and specifically subject-specific vocab. If you don't know what vocab means, by the way, it just means words. And if you want to learn more about language learning, you can definitely scroll down and jump in the Discord. It's completely free, and I will help you one-on-one as well. But what I mean by subject-specific vocab is words specific to the topic we're talking about. So I'll give you an example right now. I actually I saw a bag of pasta in the shops, right? And me personally, I speak Italian, so I happened to notice that the writing on the front of the bag was like a little paragraph in Italian. I was like, oh, that's cool, and because I'll always take an opportunity to, practice reading, or even if I didn't understand it, even if it was in Romanian or something I didn't speak, I would still try and pick out words because I do get bits and pieces of a lot of languages like that. But anyway, I went over to read what was on the front, and it was like reading about, oh, it's healthy, it's natural, we don't put chemicals in. And at the bottom, I saw it talked about, oh, it's free from pesticides and something. Pesticides and something. I recognized pesticides even though I hadn't actually read the word pesticides because it was like a similar word. But I didn't know what the second word was, and I was like, I speak Italian. I've talked to people in Italian. I can talk about the government, I can talk about the weather, I can talk about things that are not simple topics, but I didn't know what this word meant. And then I realized for a second, what the frick? I've never studied farming. I know animals and plants and stuff, but I've never studied pesticides or chemicals used for agriculture, like industrial agriculture. So why on earth would, even though I speak the language, why would I know whatever this complicated word was that obviously has something to do with pesticides and chemicals and hormones and that kind of thing for animals? There's no reason for me to know that. I've never encountered it before. So why would you, even if you are good at the language, or even if you're not, there's no reason for you to understand a particular topic if you don't know the subject-specific vocab. You could be the best native English speaker, not a learner, native English speaker. And if I show you something that's very complicated scientific topic about your sternocleidomastoid in your neck, and you have no idea what any of those words mean, it's almost like another language. Like, you'll pick out the does and the ands, but so what? I can pick out the word da in Romanian. I don't speak it. It's going to get you nowhere. So I want you to realize that subject-specific vocab is also incredibly important, not just the amount of words you know. If you're reading about something that you simply don't know the words about, it's almost like you return to a lower level because you simply don't understand the words. So the order of things I want you to do to actually solve this problem of learning words to become a way more proficient speaker is so, and it matches exactly the numbers on this previous slide. So the first thing you need to understand before you actually do anything is pain tolerance. Pain equals growth. So I'll give you an analogy a real quick analogy, because I've just told you a story. In the gym, you have to exercise, it hurts, but you get stronger, right? Right. Even if you don't go to the gym, you know that to be true. And the reason for that is complicated. It's to do with the muscle breaking down and repairing. But the point is that pain equals growth. You need to actually go through physical pain lifting weights to grow. And it's the same in any goal, in language learning, in the gym, in running, in any kind of fitness goal, in any kind of learning, academic study, workplace goal, business, politics, war, anything. There is always going to be sacrifice. There is always going to be pain to grow and to achieve a goal. And that is the case right now. So the pain we go through in language learning is encountering words that we don't actually understand. And that it's frustrating. But the first thing you need to understand before we actually go into this is that pain equals growth. Pain equals gains, as they say. When you encounter words you don't know, it's frustrating, but that is providing the kind of foundation for you to grow. So that's the first thing you need to understand. The second thing is actually how to learn words, because chances are you're actually not very good, no offense, at learning new words. And so you encounter maybe some new words, but you don't really make any progress, you forget them and that kind of thing, and it's frustrating. So what you need to understand is the way your brain actually remembers completely new information it's never seen before is by putting it into your long-term memory. And the only way to put new information into your long-term memory is to basically teach your brain that this new information is important. Think about it. You don't actually remember things long-term. Obviously, there are exceptions. You might remember what your birthday cake was when you were 3, even though that's not particularly important. But you generally, as a general rule, you don't remember things that aren't important, simply because through natural selection and genetic programming, your brain is designed to remember things that are ideally going to keep you alive. That's why when you burn yourself or something like that, even if it's only one time, it's very easy to remember. It's why if I read you an 11-digit number or whatever that was really complicated, but it was only one number different from your phone number, it would be easy to remember than, a random 11-digit number, because it's already building your foundations. It's how you learn things. And the main way you're going to lock things into your long-term memory is through sheer repetition, through repeating words over and over. And the best way to do that is with the input repetition method, which I won't discuss now because it's too complicated, but I will have it pop up on the screen and linked in the description for you to check out after. It is my guaranteed way to learn vocab incredibly quickly, and I'd highly recommend you check it out. But there is a process to learning words. It takes time, it's difficult, but you can do it. The third thing you need to understand is subject-specific vocab, as we addressed before. and specifically what I call targeting. So if you're learning words here and there, sure, you might learn some words, you might make progress, but the best way to learn words, as I address in my video on the input repetition method, is simply to target specific vocab groups. So for example, if you target food-related words, you could learn a bunch of food-related words together, and it would be so much easier than learning random words here and there, simply because they're all related. You can find texts that aren't, talking about, no text is going to talk about food, business, politics, religion, like a gazillion different things in one practice paragraph. For beginners, they're subject specific, and so that's why you need to target specific vocab groups. You can also set short-term goal, like spend 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks on a specific subject group, depending on how difficult it is, and you literally just grind flashcards, grind content, that kind of thing, and you acquire what I call a micro skill. A micro skill is like a little skill within a language where, for example, you might acquire the micro skill of being able to discuss food-related words, and that basically gives you a point towards being proficient in the language. So that is the third thing. And the fourth thing I will say is to consume and produce more. So consumption is just reading and listening. Production is speaking and writing. Just do more of this stuff and you will improve overall as far as the words goes, because when you do these things, you're actually locking them into your long-term memory. Why? Because you're using them, and that teaches your brain things are important. And simply doing more reps, just like in our gym analogy before, is going to grow you into a stronger learner. Even if it's difficult, even if it's painful, even if it's frustrating, you do need to do these things, and you will find you actually do become a more proficient learner. And yeah, don't stress over rubbish. Don't stress over you not understanding stuff. That's such a silly thing to stress about. Whenever you don't understand something, innovate over the blank spaces. If you need to speak to someone and you don't know the word, mime it out, describe the word. Do things that you do in English if you didn't understand the word. And worst case scenario, you just say, I don't know the word for this, I don't know this kind of thing. You can memorize some basic sentences to say, oh, I don't know that, sorry, that kind of thing. That's a really good place to start, by the way. And yeah, you will. It's not a big deal, because if you're talking to a native speaker, they can freaking teach you, bro. If you don't understand what they're talking about, unless they don't speak English, they can freaking teach you. It's not a big deal. And yeah, there's really no reason to stress. And if you are interested in taking this kind of language learning to a next level, I'd highly recommend you check out the Language Learning Accelerator down below. It's my course. If you have any questions, feel free to comment, email me, add me on Discord, anything like that, because I want to see as many people learn our language as possible, kill the frustration, and make progress. But as a bonus tip, I will say progressive overload is one of the best things you can understand as a concept to improve your ability in a foreign language. So progressive overload is another gym term. We're really hitting the gym analogies this video, but basically it means that over time, as you get stronger, you need to increase the weights, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't start out with, 300 kilo deadlift or whatever he did. He had to start out light, and over time, as you get stronger, you have to up the weight. Otherwise, you're simply not going to get any stronger, because it's just easy. And it's the same with anything, as we said before. There's a lot of great analogies with physical fitness, but what I mean by progressive overload is that when you're learning a language, you can't just be stuck on the same thing. Some people, they get so frustrated when they don't understand a text that they try and only read things they completely understand. And that's fine. You can read for pleasure. It's okay. It's good that you can understand completely things. That means that you are, proficient. But the bad thing is you're not learning as much. So you constantly need to be seeking out texts that are somewhat difficult. And the best way to do this is to look for texts that are at a comprehensive input level. So comprehensive input, or comprehensible input, is basically the level where it's not so difficult you can't understand, but it's not so easy you understand everything. So you have an idea of what's going on, and you can pick out words, you can pick out all the basic words, but you don't understand everything, and that's the best way to grow as a language learner. But yeah, that's my little bonus tip. Constantly make sure that you are seeking out new content with new words, that you're filling your kind of your frame with words and stuff that you don't understand, so that you can improve. And then your job is to simply use the above stuff to target and to skyrocket the amount of words you're learning. So yeah, thank you for watching, guys. Definitely subscribe, and I hope this was useful for you. Don't let them win. Have a good one.